and welcome. My name is Rhonda with Rhonda's Craft Frenzy. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you're not new, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you so much. Today I have 3 different DIYs that I hope will inspire you throughout this fall season. I love them. I think they came out so beautiful. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get right to it. I'll beat you to the craft table.
DIY number 1, I started with a wire wagon wheel from Dollar Tree. I loved it, but I thought it had too many spokes, so I used my Dremel to cut every other one of those spokes out. Sorry, I must have lost that footage. Then I used nautical rope from Dollar Tree and wrapped it all the way around the outside of my wheel, and I hot glued it here and there to hold it together. Next, I used a package of dowel rods, again from Dollar Tree. I measured them out to fit in the center of my rope and the middle of that wheel where that little black circle piece is. Then I used my miter shears to cut it to size. I hot glued each end to hold it into place. Once they were in place, the next part was to use this round piece that I got from the Dollar Tree made from wood, and I glued it right in the center over all of those spokes. I used antique wax by Art Minds, and I stained the spokes and that centerpiece. And once it was in place, I spread out those leaves, gluing them down here and there, and messed with it until I was happy with the way it looked. Some leaves I even cut off and placed them in different spots. The only thing I had left to do now is decorate it, and for this I used a maple leaf garland from Dollar Tree. I wrapped it around there until it was in place that I liked it, using hot glue here and there to hold it. And once it was in place, I spread out those leaves, gluing them down here and there, and messed with it until I was happy with the way it looked. Some leaves I even cut off and placed them in different spots. And lastly, I added this pretty sunflower in the middle. I moved some of those beads here and there around until I liked it, and it was done. I think it came out really pretty, and I hope you do too. For my second one, I started out with a shallow pumpkin dish, a square sign, both from Dollar Tree, and I used a couple of fat squares from Walmart. One was a sunflower with the coordinating brown color, and I paid 97 cents each for these. This is my second project with them, and I thought it was a great deal. I ripped the front of that sign off because I just didn't want to deal with all that glitter. Then I took the dish, I spread the sunflower material over it to get the basic shape, and then I cut the stem out around the edges, leaving enough to wrap it around. I spread Mod Podge over the surface of the pumpkin without getting that stem, and I laid my material over it and added another pretty good coat of that Mod Podge, stretching it out as that material was getting wet. Once that part was done, I went back with the brown material for the stem. I cut it to size and did the same process I did for the rest of that pumpkin. Then I let it dry overnight. Once it was dry completely, I used a razor knife and cut out the edges only on the stem. I grabbed the sign part that I painted rather streaky with Waverly's truffle colored chalk paint. I used a thankful sign that I had from a previous project and glued it onto the pumpkin with super glue and hot glue. Then I glued my pumpkin in the center of the sign with E6000 and hot glue. I bordered the pumpkin with jute string and added a leaf near the stem, but you don't have to do that part. I just thought it gave it a nice finished look. Then I used coffee stirrers. I painted them a yellow color. I cut them to size, and I glued them with Elmer's wood glue and hot glue around the sign for a frame, and it was done. For DIY number 3, I found 3 different sized pumpkins. Any will do. I pulled the stems off. I painted each one a different color. I used moss colored chalk paint from Waverly and plaster color from Waverly. Then I used burnt sienna Rust-Oleum Ultra Matte spray paint on the glittery one, and I let them all dry. Once dry, I did a dry brushing technique on them to give them that rustic look I love. Then it was time for assembly. I used dollar store maple leaf garlands. I pulled it apart and I hot glued the leaves to the top of each pumpkin in a way that I like, using the largest at the bottom and the smallest on the top, and I used hot glue to glue them all together. For that top pumpkin, I needed a stem, and I'm not real crazy about those plastic ones they come with, so I used a wood piece that come in bags from the Dollar Tree. I found one that I liked, I hot glued it to the top, I added a leaf right next to that stem, and it was finished. I love it, and it's just so pretty. I hope you guys like it too. I appreciate you spending your time here with me, and I hope you found some inspiration in my video. Please consider subscribing to my channel, and if you saw something you like, hit that thumbs up button. Don't be shy with those comments. I hope to see you next time, and until then, keep those glue guns at the ready.